Good evening, everyone. It's time for a quick weather update. Just want to update everybody on the weather at the moment. Obviously, it's very humid and very hot. We've had some reasonable rainfall today, but most of it's missed Melbourne. However, that's probably going to change very shortly. We've got a trough lying over the state at the moment, but it's not moving, it's stationary, and things are starting to happen now because it's being forced from the west by an upper trough, which I'll touch on in a minute when we look at the satellite photo. But I've chosen Mildura radar here for you. It's 512 kilometre depth, and there it goes, just updated. And it shows an enormous area of thunderstorms that have developed in the upper trough in South Australia. It shows the light rain that's been over the northern slopes most of today, but not really producing much rainfall. And it's also showing an area now of thunderstorms in western Victoria, which are starting to develop around this area here. Now, this is what I've been saying all along, that this is going to occur. Temperatures are now in the 30s again in Western Victoria. The sun's come out because that high cloud has now sheared off to the east. So we're starting to see thunderstorms develop out near Horsham. Just recently, Horsham touched 33 degrees about 10 minutes ago, which was their maximum for the day. And what I believe is going to happen here is all this area, basically from down here all the way up into these thunderstorms in South Australia and back, down through here, will develop a massive area of rain and thunderstorms this evening, and that will continue probably for a good 12 hours because the upper trough is still way back in here. I believe that we're going to see around about 20 to 30 millimetres pretty much through most of this area here. But I think tomorrow afternoon, when this flattens out into a nice thundery rain band, it's going to come through here and thicken right up, and I think you're going to be looking at around about 50 to 75 in this area of Victoria. In the northeast and the northern slopes, definitely looking at good falls there as these thunderstorms crank up tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Just to show you what it looks like on the satellite photo, this is it here, and you can see the trough is sitting just basically along here, and it's not moving. It's in the same spot as it was yesterday. The mid-level cloud deck is here and producing not much at all. There's not many lightning strikes, as you can see in there, and it's basically a nuisance because it hasn't allowed any surface heating, because if that hadn't been there today, we probably would have seen some very hot temperatures again. But because the mid-levels were saturated with moisture, we've seen cloud persist all day but produce very little rainfall. The other thing to note is, if you look at this line just here, going along this bit of cloud that's developing in here, that's like a separation of the two air masses. We've got the trough and all the moist air here on this side, and we've got colder and drier air behind it on this side. So this is trying to form a little front here, and what it's doing now is it's pushing up to the trough, and it's squeezing it and forcing it to lift, and that's why you're getting all these thunderstorms to form. And that's why we're going to start to see some activity form now as the trough gets forced to lift, because we do have a very humid air mass. Now, even though we've got a very humid air mass, you need a trigger for these things to trigger off, and the trigger is the upper trough. But the upper trough is just laying here and it's very weak, but this is the forcing. This here is squeezing the atmosphere. It's like it's driving a wedge underneath this stuff here and forcing it to rise. So when that happens, you can see there you go there. Look at those lightning strikes just pop up there down in Western Victoria there. So it's starting to move. We're starting to see the pattern become mobile, and we should start to see an eruption of activity in the next 6 to 12 hours. So it looks like an exciting night for Victoria and South Australia. And I think this is going to hang around too for a fair bit of tomorrow. For Melbourne especially, I think it'll probably hang around till lunchtime, and then it'll probably be just north of Melbourne for the afternoon, so we'll see how it goes from there. If you look at the water vapour, I like using the water vapour. It's a good tool to use because you can see the rich vein of moisture that is coming down from the tropics. Have a look at this. It's just feeding in. All this area here is moist. All along there is all moisture laden air. This is dry air here. The black is dry and hot, but all this stuff here is all moist. All this is as well, but not as much as you can see the lightning strikes in there. Just multitudes of lightning strikes. Absolutely going off it is. And you see it all feeding here from Indonesia as well. And generally what happens in the summer is it rolls its way down and feeds its way into here, and usually comes down and gives us some good rainfall. And it's a good tool to use as well, because you can see the dry lines like this black line here. That's what they call a dry line. So that's basically where the forcing's happening now. That's pushing across and starting to make all this sort of move and form into thunderstorms and rain. and then what that's going to do is over the next couple of days is force this out here. It's going to push it away. So at the moment it's just stationary, but it's going to start moving. So hopefully won't start moving for about another 12 hours. We probably should get some good rainfall here. But then by tomorrow afternoon, I think it'll start to be positioned somewhere around here. So most of the rain will move into northeastern Victoria. So that's basically in a nutshell what I'm expecting to happen in the next 24 hours. Just lastly, I quickly wanted to update you on sea surface temperatures, which I showed you the video of the other day. Particularly this area here. I mean, this is amazing. We're looking at 2.5 degrees above normal now. So around 32 degrees this water temperature is. And as you saw in the water vapor, the moisture comes from here and just feeds over the country. Now, the warmer the water, the more rich moisture you get coming over the country, just waiting to be picked up by cold fronts that come down from the Southern Ocean here. So if you draw a line sort of from here along here, if you cut that bit of Western Australia out, basically everywhere the rest of the country is going to see a lot of moisture pouring in, and bigger systems, what we just had or what we're having at the moment, will be the trend for the next 3 or 4 months. And over here, very cold water is getting even colder now, which is a sign that the southeasterly winds are strengthening. It's upwelling a lot of cold water off the coast of Ecuador there, and that spreads eastwards on the trades, which is a good sign, because what it means is this warmer water here and here is going to push and be pushed and forced to come here. And again, when you got warm water sitting over the country, or warmer than normal water sitting just off the coast, it produces a lot of moisture which gets poured over this way into the country, and again produces a lot of rain for the interior and southern states. So I think we're looking at a very good 3 to 4 months of rainfall coming up. So that's tonight's update, and I'll keep you posted tomorrow on some more weather.